What is up, guys? Welcome to Diggity, a video game podcast, episode number 149, almost at 150, almost there.
So close.
Yeah, so close. Guys, I'm Jeff James. As always, with me, the incredible, unobtainable, luscious Brody, and we have a guest on today, Bryant. And
how you guys doing?
Yeah. Do you want to give a quick rundown of what you do?
Yeah, of course. First off, congratulations, 150 episodes. That's almost 150. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm Bryant. I work for a company called the Nerf Report, and we're a YouTube channel where basically every single week we take all the week's gaming news and nerf it down into one show. That way, people like me who are constantly traveling for work and don't have time to catch up on the news, all they got to do is watch one show. And we've been doing it. I mean, we're on episode 136. I think it just got posted, but you know, it's fun.
Wow.
It's been fun. So I'm happy to be here. Appreciate you guys inviting me.
No,
We're the opposite. We take all of the news from the week, put it into 2-hour-long episodes.
Hey, but there's benefits to that because there's a lot of times I'll get comments to be like, "Oh, you didn't cover the story," and I'm like, "Man, it's a 15-minute show." I'm like, I can't cover the whole story.
Yeah.
I've watched a handful of your videos now. Especially today, I was trying to kind of get a real good feel about what you're all about and everything before we had you on the show, and you guys do a fantastic job. The production quality is incredible. So if you guys haven't checked them out yet, definitely go check them out.
Awesome, thank you.
Cool. You can follow us at Diggity Podcast on Instagram and Twitter. Bryant, where can they follow you on social media? I'm
most active on Twitter. So at Bryant Chappelle on Twitter, or at the Nerf Report, either one. And I shamefully have to admit we have a TikTok now.
Okay.
We haven't made that leap yet.
China,
I bursted the TikTok bubble, huh?
Yeah, we haven't done that one yet.
We haven't done that yet. I don't know if we can jump on it, man. I gotta learn you gotta dance and stuff.
Dances and cat videos.
That's gonna be your realm, Jeff. I'm staying far away from that. You have the cat. You have to take it. It's natural.
That's true enough. Yeah. Guys, subscribe to us on YouTube. Search Diggity or Diggity Gaming. And also, if you haven't already, tell your friends about our podcast. Available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever awesome podcasts are held. We are there. Also, join our Patreon for exclusive Discord, exclusive content, and the world famous Diggity Diggity. With that, let's jump into a topic that we discuss every episode, which is what we're currently playing. So, Bryant, do you actually want to start us off with this, being the guest?
Yeah, I've been playing a lot of Apex Legends. It's kind of my religious game every single week. I'm striving to get to level 100, and they just dropped the old map, the original map, onto the game. So that's been fun. And then I'm using Google Stadia. I've been testing Metro Exodus. So that's kind of been fun.
Sweet.
Kind of fun.
Kind of
Is
fun.
it going all right?
It's going all right. I mean, there's definitely points where I'm running it on my computer and I'm like, that's it's not the same quality. But when you run it on the Chromecast, it's just like a PlayStation.
Really?
Nice. And I always preface that by saying, like, I live in Austin, Texas. We have 300 megabit internet, and we also have gigabit internet. So we're kind of in that perfect bubble that Stadia has to be in to operate. Because once you get out of it, it gets nasty. It gets really bad.
Yeah, we're in Indiana, and like the best you can get around here is like 100 megabits. So.
My new apartment building, 250.
Ooh.
Comcast.
Oh
yeah. And the other guys in town that supposedly have gig internet are going bankrupt. So that's not so absolutely truthful when you're not inside of a little tech hub or a decently sized tech hub that it's not going to work out so well for you. What about you, Brody? What are you playing these days?
Still Modern Warfare, still Tokyo Mirage Sessions. I made some serious progress in Tokyo Mirage Sessions. I think I got like 7 hours in this weekend in it. So that's chipping away at it. I jumped back into Horizon Zero Dawn for a short period of time. And I actually played a little bit of the Division 2 with the new DLC right around the corner. I kind of dipped my toes back in. I didn't stay very long, but I dipped my toes back in. So that about sums up what I've been doing. How about you, Jeff?
Been playing 2 games. So one, been grinding through Ni no Kuni on the Switch. I'm having a blast with that. And then unfortunately, I decided upon myself to take on the Star Wars Battlefront 2 campaign. And yeah, so I played. I mean, I
Feeling
played
brave.
Yeah, I played multiplayer for a long time, and then I was like, you know what? Like, I'll give the campaign a go and check this out. Boy, what a bad idea!
Yeah,
That was not great.
well, actually, I've got a question since you brought up Battlefront. We have a kind of a ongoing joke on our show that anytime EA Star Wars posts anything about Battlefront, we always reply back with hashtag Where are the Gungans? Because this entire game exists,
Absolutely.
and there's no Gungans, there's no Jar Jars,
Good
there's no
point.
Boss Nass, and it's like you have. This is a Star Wars nerd coming out of me, but it's like the droids and the clones. Where are the Gungans? Bring them in.
Yeah,
But
Everybody needs Jar Jar.
they were too scared to give what people wanted.
yeah, pink Darth Vader and Jar Jar Binks. That's what we wanted.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So our first little tidbit here that we always do on our Wednesday episode is the upcoming games for the week. Unless you were going to say something else, Jeff. You look confused.
No, go for it, buddy.
Okay. So February 27th, Mousecraft is coming to Switch. Overpass is coming to PC, PS4, and Xbox One. February 28th, Bloodroots is coming to PC, PS4, and Switch. One Punch Man, A Hero Nobody Knows is coming to PC, PS4, and Xbox One. And on March 3rd, the Division 2 Warlords of New York expansion is coming to PC, PS4, and Xbox One.
Any big things that stand out here for anybody?
What is the Division expansion? I've kind of slept on that. What is that going to include?
Returning back to New York, and which is kind of cool. I'm excited about that. It's a different season. It's not just snowy this time. And I'm drawing a blank on the dude's name, but Aaron something from the first one that showed up quite a bit. He's like the main villain of this expansion. He's like the first agent that went rogue. So it looks like it's pretty cool. I love the gameplay of it, and I just kind of usually get to a point where I get bored of just going through area to area, because I'm very much one of those people that starts at one portion of the map and does everything and just works their way across the map. So it wears on you after a while. But I am excited for this. I know we have some buddies that are going to be playing it for sure. So I'm kind of trying to get back into it.
That's cool.
Yep. Guys, your March Xbox games with gold have also been announced. So for Xbox One, Batman the Enemy Within, the complete season will be available March 1st to 31st. And Shantae Half Genie Hero will be available March 16th to April 15th. For Xbox 360 backwards compat games, you get Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2, which is also available March 1st to the 15th, and Sonic Generations, obviously because that Sonic movie out, March 16th to the 31st, which also I cannot believe how many people went and saw Sonic.
A lot of people went and saw Sonic.
Yeah.
I mean, what a way to take a disaster and turn it into a gold mine, essentially.
There was that old saying, like when people were complaining about how ugly Sonic looked like, and they're like, oh, now they're going to have to go back and fix it. You better go see the movie. And I'm with you, man. I'm glad so many people went to go see this movie, because the cost of fixing it, I would hate to see how much it cost.
Oh, yeah. It had to be insane.
We had a running joke / theory that very well could be true, that it was all just a big marketing ploy.
That's genius. I haven't heard that yet.
Genius.
That's genius. Yeah.
It would be absolutely genius. I don't know if they did that or not, but it would be genius.
I kind of hope that's what it was, because the first iteration of Sonic was absolutely nightmarish.
Surely you could not look at that and be like, no, this is fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Spawn is going to be the next DLC fighter for Mortal Kombat 11. This isn't really new information, but it was announced almost a year ago now, because they kind of showed their whole roadmap for DLC characters. And it does appear that this will be the next character, and he will be launching in March. So I think they actually ended up skipping one in the order that they originally showed off, which I think was Anne, if I remember correctly. So yeah, cool. I'm all for Spawn. I like Spawn.
Yeah, that's a cool addition to the character. I'm just not a big Mortal Kombat dude.
I'm not a big fighting guy at all, other than Super Smash Bros. That's where I draw the line.
Bryant, what about you?
I haven't played a fighting game probably in like 10 years. It's been a long
time.
Really?
So are they like actually, I mean, I haven't looked into it. Are they growing, or is it just like such a dedicated base of players?
I mean, you look at like Super Smash Brothers, and I mean that's bonkers.
Yeah.
And I know this last Mortal Kombat was a pretty huge, I guess I want to say chapter to the whole entire franchise, but it feels like it's just like the Madden effect. I feel like it's the same game over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to get really excited. Like Spawn, yeah, that's cool, but it's like from a guy like me who hasn't played a fighting game in 10 years, that's not going to get me back in the game.
It's also Spawn, which is cool.
Yeah.
But it's also a pretty niche character in some
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
some big Spawn fan is listening right now. And they're like, "What did they just say?"
And
someone is going to hunt us down.
Yeah.
Fighting games for me, I'm just god awful at them. Like I do okay in Smash Bros. I'm usually top of the leaderboard type Smash, but like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter and stuff, I can't, or Tekken even, like I can't do it. Like the combos, I never can seem to get them to work properly, and I just end up button mashing until I get my ass kicked.
That's pretty much me also. GDC is now seeing more companies drop out. So we actually just talked about this before we went live and hit record. But EA and Kojima Productions have now also joined others in stepping away from the Game Developers Conference due to the coronavirus. Kind of crazy how fast this is catching on with canceling things out. I mean, I won't make a joke, but if Kojima Productions went there, it would kind of go in line with Death Stranding a little bit. There'd be nobody there.
Oh no.
It'd just be Kojima with a backpack walking around.
Yeah.
At this point, like, you think they're even gonna have GDC? You think they're gonna cancel it? I mean, there's been quite a few major companies that have dropped out at this point.
See, my concern in this situation is I think GDC and PAX East are being affected because they're now, but E3 is what, in June? So if this doesn't get better, or if, like the CDC said today, I think America is like, it's not if, but when, E3 takes place right in the United States. So it's like, what is that going to do to a convention like that? That's already having people back out of it. So it's going to be a fascinating story for this year.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what they do with GDC. I feel like maybe they'll get rid of like the show floor maybe, and they'll just close it off to just devs for like sessions or whatever. Because there's a lot of local devs in San Fran and around the area as well. That, I mean, you can still make it there, and it's not a big deal. But
so GDC takes place March 16th through March 20th. So there is still time for them to go ahead and shut that down if it does get worse at this point. If more companies drop out. But I mean, PAX East is this weekend? So there's not really any. I don't know. We've only seen. I think who was it that dropped out of PAX East? There was only like one company so far. You had PlayStation,
just covered Capcom, Square Enix, and there was one other one that backed out, I think.
Yeah, there was a handful. So I mean, and I guess they're still going on with that. So unless things continue to progress in the way they have been, I mean, GDC might still happen. Maybe.
I think you're onto something with the classes and the panels and stuff like that. The closed door stuff happening behind the scenes will happen, but big press conferences like Stadia did last year, I don't think that that's going to happen, and I don't think that they're going to have a show floor. I think that's just too big of a risk at this point.
Yeah,
well, rent somewhere and put out a direct style presentation and call it a day. Keep your employees healthy.
I have to imagine also there's a lot of just people like backing out or just traveling there after buying their tickets or asking for refunds. I mean, I would assume PAX East probably has refunds, at the wazoo right now.
Oh, I'm sure.
There's a case of coronavirus in Boston, so it's like extra sketchy in some form. But yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of interesting too, because it's like if it was just all U.S. devs or whatever going to it, I don't think it'd really be a problem right now. I think it's more when it's the international side. And San Francisco being, right there on the Pacific, I mean, you have a lot of traveling back and forth from Asian nations.
Well, it's just like we talked about before we went on air. It's the circle, or I guess it's the spider effect of the web. All it takes is one point, and someone touches a handrail, and that person shakes a hand with this person, and it spreads like crazy. So I get the caution on the side of the developers 100%.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, Hopefully it survives.
Hopefully. Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition may be coming really soon. So the game has now officially received a T rating from the ESRB, and last week it actually received classification in Korea. These ratings tend to point towards development being nearly done and that the game may be coming out fairly soon. It's usually one of the last things at the end of the finish line type of deal. This is the first bit of news we've really heard about the game since it was shown off in a Nintendo Direct in early September. And it kind of brings out the question of maybe we're finally going to get that Nintendo Direct we've been patiently waiting for, other than like the Animal Crossing, obviously. But I mean, a proper Nintendo Direct where we get some new announcements and maybe find out what's going to happen in 2020.
Oh, that's a tough question.
Animal Crossing.
That's all we got.
It will be an interesting story of what surprises Nintendo may or may not have that they're not talking about. Because right now, what do you got? You got Metroid that's still under development.
Yeah.
And then Breath of the Wild. So those are the big two games that are kind of confirmed that we don't know where they're going to land.
Yeah, and I saw a brief interview. There wasn't enough to make a news story out of it, but they were talking about Bayonetta 3, and it was very much like, hey, development's going great. We'll keep you updated kind of thing. You're like, that tells me nothing. I'm not even going to bother putting it in my show notes type of thing, but I guess that is another one that's just kind of lingering out there, unless they come out with something like a Pikmin or a Double Dash.
Dude, I wish. That's my theory.
So what's your guys' big Nintendo Switch wish? If you could have one game announced, what would it be?
It would definitely be Double Dash, 100%.
Okay.
Or a Mario Kart that gives you the ability to team up on the same cart together.
Oh,
I mean, getting rid of that mechanic from back in GameCube days, I think was a huge mistake. I get the motorcycle stuff, whatever, and the carts, but give that ability.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I have a real big wish right now. I do really enjoy Pikmin. I am excited about Metroid, but there's not really any like huge Nintendo IPs that I'm missing in my life right now. I'm just patiently waiting for Zelda Breath of the Wild 2.
See, mine is Star Fox. That's the game that I'm like, you haven't heard anything about it, and I'm like, it's been a while. Just give me a classic Star Fox 64 style game and just drop it.
That's my major hang up on on Star Fox in general, is just the fact that everyone always references 64 or even the original, it's one of those things. They've made a ton of games. Nobody cares about any of them except for the one that released in the N64.
Yeah.
Just give us a classic Star Fox. That's all we're asking for. We don't need Star Fox Adventures, whatever the hell nightmare that was.
The Chicken Walker, that was awesome, man.
Yeah,
the chicken
that was great.
It was a great idea.
Yeah, that's an IP that I feel they've tried to capitalize on, and they just have not hit the mark.
Yeah,
many of times.
I need to see Slippy in HD. Slippy needs to be in HD, and there needs to be a big part of Slippy in it.
So like when Joel gets knocked down in The Last of Us and Ellie takes over, Fox gets knocked down and Slippy comes for the rescue.
Yeah. Like Slippy, like end of campaign, Slippy dives in front of like an oncoming piece of like shrapnel to save Fox and takes it like right through the chest.
Doug Bowser, this is my one true hope.
Yeah. And then all you hear from him is just, oh, and he dies.
You joke, but I bet Doug Bowser is listening right now, taking notes and being like, this is what we're doing. Next Direct.
Should not listen to us on a weekly basis. Our ideas at all. Overwatch is testing experimental mode, and it's been revealed. So triple damage will change up the traditional team composition to alter the basic makeup of the standard team. Instead of a normal split of 2 damage heroes, 2 support heroes, and 2 tanks, there will now be 3 damage dealing heroes and 1 tank, while still keeping 2 support heroes. So one of the main reasonings behind this change is to hopefully reduce role queue times, which we've discussed on the show many times, in the fact that when you get competitive, it is so long of a wait to be a damage character in the queue times. And people have complained about this numerous times of it being like 10 minutes per match waiting, and that's just crazy. Ain't nobody got time for that. And to go alongside this experiment, Blizzard will be balancing some tank characters to make them better at solo tanking. But these changes will only be made inside of the triple damage mode. Jeff Kaplan said that the experimental mode is really focused on radical gameplay changes or things that we want to try out and get our direct player feedback on. We were unsure of these. To that effect, some of the tweaks Blizzard ends up testing through the system could be abandoned completely or changed down the road. So I think it's good. I mean, people want to be more damage. And I've said it like week after week on this, where I went back to Overwatch and it's just like, oh my God, like the queuing for a damage character. All they can play is tank or healer. And like they incentivize, right? You get like plus extra, experience for playing a healer, but it's only so many times I want to do that.
Yeah.
I want to be.
See, that's interesting. I didn't even know they were doing that. That's I haven't played Overwatch in a while, but that's interesting that there's not enough people playing healers, so they're like, oh, you get more XP. That's cool.
What's messed up is that was the straw that kind of broke the camel's back for me with Overwatch was these long queue times, because once they added in the role queues like that, like I play a healer. I generally play a healer or a tank or whatever's needed, but I hardly ever play damage. And so we'd pair up and we'd be trying to find a match. And just the two of us, it'd be like 13, 14 minutes just to find a match. And I'm like, I'm done. I'm out. That's like half my gaming time is spent just waiting.
Yeah, it's insane. And it's like, I don't know if 3 damage is really going to help it. I mean, I feel like telling everybody about this now, everyone's just going to want to go and be damage. So the weights are just going to go up even more. But I mean, it was cool when they did it because you just picked a role and that was it for competitive. And so people couldn't like throw your match, being like all tanks, or someone wanted to be, the majority of you wanted to be damaged. But there's got to be a better way.
For sure.
So the short-term Temtem roadmap has been revealed. So spring 2020, they want to have ranked matchmaking version 1 out, spectator mode version 1 out, in-game chat bubbles, and club management. By summer 2020, they want to have a new island of Kisawa. Approximately 25 new Temtems, player housing, climbing gear, and emotes version 2. And fall 2020, they want to have another new island called Sipamuka. Approximately 25 new Temtems. I love made up words. They're really difficult to pronounce. A first mythical Temtem, in-game tournaments, a quest diary, and achievements. They also revealed that midterm roadmap will be revealed tomorrow, which will actually be the day this is coming out. And this will include things such as a trading house, dojo wars, and some details about in-game island that will be eventually released. So this is cool. That was one of the big things when I played through this game, that it was weird because you like travel down a path and you get to the end of it and there'd be a house with a sign that says coming soon on the outside of it. And it was really bizarre and completely was just jarring and took you out of the experience. So to see some of these things kind of fleshed out and filled out, and like I've ran into a couple places where it's like, oh, you need climbing gear. Okay, well, I can't do anything with that right now. So that's not helpful, but I actually really did enjoy my time with this game, and the fact that they, are pursuing all of the development process that they said they would in the Kickstarter. I mean, they say that, but it's not necessarily always a given. We've seen other situations where they don't fully succeed in completing the things they say they're going to complete. So I think it's good. I think this is awesome, and they seem to be doing a pretty good job so far.
How long did it take you to? I mean, did you catch every Temtem that there is?
No.
Okay.
No, I haven't even beat the game yet. I'm so scatterbrained when it comes to games. I bounce back and forth between games left and right. I have usually like 1 or 2 main games, and then I play like 3 or 4 other games on the side and bounce back and forth and stuff. But this is one I really do want to return to because I actually really did enjoy it. And like I said, I was still pretty early on. I only got a handful of hours with it.
And it's still only on PC, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, for now.
Okay.
It supposedly is coming to Switch, and I believe Xbox and PlayStation as well. I know for a fact it's coming to Switch, but
did this launch before Pokemon?
No, it just launched in January 20th, I believe.
That's wild because a lot of people are still talking about it, which is pretty awesome. The fact that it can contend.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems to be staying
I know
right in the
PC.
headlines, and people are continually talking about it. And I think that's impressive because it's obviously up against big competition. I mean, Pokemon, some people weren't too fond of this year, but or this last year. But I think it's done a good job of kind of filling in a whole nother side of the market. And I think it
Sure.
complements Pokemon in a good way. I don't think it necessarily replaces Pokemon because there's still nostalgia attached to Pokemon, right? But I think it definitely complements it and is a little bit of a nice gap filler in there and something that can coexist with it.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Onto the meat of the podcast. Big announcement made by P3. So the new Xbox Series X specs were officially announced. Some of these we already knew, but they made them completely official. So we'll just run through them quick, and then we can discuss on everything. So 12 teraflops is what's going to have inside of it. It's not a made-up word. You'll have variable rate shading, hardware accelerated DirectX ray tracing, which is pretty surprising with the hardware aspect of it. Quick resume for multiple games, and smart delivery, which is probably one of the biggest things that people took to on Twitter, which was if you purchase a title once in order to play the best available version for whichever Xbox console they choose to play on, is what was quoted from the tweet and from the announcement. And basically means that, if you were to purchase, I'll use that as an example because it'll never happen, but Skyrim, if you purchase Skyrim on Xbox One, the Xbox Series X version will be given to you for free through smart delivery in just a different package through the store. So you can play it in all of its glory with its ray tracing and its 12 teraflops of power. Then cross-buy also notates to that as well. And then Cyberpunk 2077 came through and said it is the only third-party developer to confirm that they will be actually doing this cross-buy, as mentioned, which is going to be, kudos to them. I mean, that's forgoing a decent amount of profit right there.
A ton of profit.
Yeah.
A ton.
So,
especially because, if that game is as good as everyone is hoping it's going to be, or even close to, like it's just going to sell like crazy. Mm-hmm. And then when the next generation comes out, people would buy it again just to see it in all of its upscaled glory. Like they're leaving a lot of money on the table, but it's also kind of something you expect from CD Projekt Red at this point. They've been pretty good about, pleasing fans and things. The smart delivery for me in this is kind of confusing, only because it seems like there's some mixed messages going on to where, they're saying purchase a title, but then they have the cross buy, which is also basically the same thing, but repackaged in a way. And basically we know that it's going to be for first party titles, but as far as like your example, Skyrim, I'm sure it will be on the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5, but is it actually going to be something that will carry forward? Because it has been kind of a weird way of presenting this, in all honesty. Different articles say different things, and even in their own like press release for it, it was kind of off. Mm-hmm. It's very around the bush.
Oh shoot! Who's answering this?
Yeah.
No, it's cool, guys. I'll just talk to myself. Oh, so Brody, this is what I think.
Yeah. No, I think the cross-buy thing, it definitely has wheels on it. And like you guys said, kudos to Xbox for doing it, because it's really putting pressure on PlayStation now to either follow up and do the exact same thing. But it's something that I've got some friends at EA, or a friend that used to work at EA. And 2 years ago, when we started talking about the next generation consoles, they kind of hinted at the fact that there's not going to be that gap between the Xbox One and the Xbox Series X, that all of your games are going to transition over. And same with the PlayStation, that was the impression that EA was told. So for me, this is kind of like it's good on them. But like you said, all it takes is one major developer like Ubisoft or Activision to be like, hey, we're not going to partake in this. We're going to keep doing things the way we've always done. And it's just going to create a cataclysm of bad press. Yeah. But hey, we'll see what happens.
We're not going to make Just Dance cross-buy.
It's going to be Bethesda that does that.
To buy it again. I don't know. I don't think so. I think if anyone does that, it's like death by like 1,000. Paper gods. Yeah, I mean, you
I'm
literally.
sorry. Have you watched what Bethesda has done over the last
I
year?
know, but I mean, this
2
time
years?
round, I mean, good
Fallout
God.
76 Xbox
Yeah.
Series X edition.
Yeah.
Also,
This
would
one
you like to buy
works.
Skyrim again?
Oh, God. You know they're gonna bring Skyrim, but then perfect E3 announcements. We're bringing Skyrim to the next consoles, and it's gonna be free if you own it already. If you don't, go buy it.
Also, Fallout 76 is coming to the next gen.
Yeah.
Certainly. It's got to. They'll absolutely do that. And nobody will buy it again.
I think that game's going free to play.
Yeah.
But
you would think.
out of the big independent developers, I mean, not indie, I guess, but like the big third-party developers of like Activision, EA, Ubisoft, and Bethesda definitely I could see it, and Activision's the only other one to be like, hey, you bought Call of Duty for the Xbox, sorry, you're gonna have to buy Call of Duty for the Xbox Series X as well,
with some like BS excuse.
Yeah, but
We're
it comes
just
with
not
a
able.
remastered version of something like that's how I see it.
Yeah, and it is a big challenge for a company. I mean, you think about it, like they're going to take a game that was made for Xbox One hardware, and now they're going to have to try to basically build an entire new version of it or up-res it to be able to work on and use the best performance out of them. That's going to be a cost.
Well, and the flip side of this as well is like I still, kudos to Cyberpunk and CD Projekt Red, but at the same time, there's a part of me that's like, I want to see what the up-resed version is really going to look like, and what is that up-resed version on the Xbox Series X versus you just took a couple extra months and focused on actually putting the Xbox Series X to the limits and create a Cyberpunk that way, because at the end of the day, I'd pay $60 more for a game that's going to, use my Xbox Series X to the full potential.
Yeah, because you'll have this awkward moment where you'll have like the new Halo on there, and it'll just be like looking gorgeous. And you're right, you might have some of these where it's just like, just throw it up there.
Yeah,
right.
Like 76, I think would benefit immensely from that. Just granted, all the issues that people have with the graphics in it. If they took the extra time to, and also the bugs, but if they fix those, that'd be great.
How much time do we have?
Exactly. I actually saw a pretty interesting graphic comparing all the Xboxes to this one in terms of power. So 1,000 gigaflops is 1 teraflop, which is hilarious. The words are just ridiculous.
I swear it's still a made up word.
Right.
Like
right.
It sounds like something straight out of like Star Trek or something.
So the Xbox 360 was the original Xbox was 5.8 gigaflops. Okay. 41.3 original Xboxes were equal to 1 Xbox 360. All right. The Xbox 360 was about 240 gigaflops. All right. The Xbox One, it has a power of 5.45 Xbox 360s in the original, day one Xbox One. All right. The Xbox One had 1.31 teraflops in it. Okay. Now 4.58 Xbox Ones equal 1 Xbox One X currently. And the Xbox One X currently has 6 teraflops of power into it, which I think is being greatly underutilized. And then 2 Xbox One X's essentially, equal 1 Xbox Series X. So, and then I saw a great one too, where it's
the
like
GameCube one.
And yeah, it's 1,100 GameCubes.
I don't know if you guys covered this on the last one, but Daniel Ahmad, he's an industry analyst, and he posted a tweet this week that was talking about the specs inside of the Xbox Series X and how back in 2001, like the IBM ASC2, it was like a supercomputer that they built. Yeah. It cost $110 million to build in 2001. And here we are about to get it in our house for like maybe under $1,000. That's absolutely incredible.
Yeah. What do you think the pricing is going to be?
$599.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. The economy's done pretty well. I think, minus yesterday, but I just think they can easily charge like $600, $650 for the thing, and people don't complain.
It's like a PC. I mean, that's what
Yeah.
it is. So if you compare it to like a desktop PC, I mean that maybe even closer to 7 to get those specs, but I think 599 is competitive enough that even if Sony went in at 499 or 470 or whatever they're speculating, I think you can still get that market.
What are they speculating?
There was a company, I think it was last month, that leaked the specs, and they said to build it was like $470.
Okay, so they might sell at break or at loss.
Yeah,
because most of them sell at loss, but yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's going to be the telling sign. So, like, does Sony go in at 450 or do they go in at 499 or, what do they decide to do? But I don't see Sony breaching 5 at all.
Yeah. Remember when they did the PS3?
Yeah. I was going to say PS3, they said it was going to be $600 and
600.
The internet lost its mind.
Without the boomerang controller, I think they should bring the boomerang controller back. The special edition, dude. That was awesome looking.
I think Xbox is going to be walking a weird line here, and this is kind of why I hope that all the specs that we're getting are for the high end model of this, because I assume when you're calling it a Series X, I assume there's going to be a couple models, right? And so in my mind, I hope that there's also one that's going to be a little bit cheaper, because this is going to be a thing where, in order to make this feasible, it is going to have to be at least $600. Otherwise they're going to be taking a huge loss on these consoles, which again, they take a loss generally, but I imagine that to produce this is probably pretty salty. So I'm thinking that, yeah, I think this one is going to be 600, but I also hope they do one that's, still more powerful than an Xbox One X, but also not as powerful as this. And they can hit, that sweet spot of like a 450, 500 or something like that. Something a little bit more feasible. Cause dropping $600 on a console it's a lot of money. It is. For console gamers. So
it'll be, go ahead. No, you can go ahead.
Oh, what's crazy too is that it has AMD's RDNA 2.0 technology, which won't even be in PCs when the time this thing launches. Like, they have it ahead of time. So this thing actually, it doesn't, there's some like NVIDIA cards and stuff and chips out there that are going to surpass this on the PC end, but it's not many. Like, when this thing comes out, it's going to be pretty heavily intensive on the graphic department, comparable to, as high as you can go PC wise, as much as that might kill PC players to say. But, obviously we get outranked, but
I was reading some or not articles, but some people on the internet just kind of talking about that. And basically, to be where this is hoping to be, it would cost someone like $1,300 to make this upgrade almost on a PC. Like, it's disgusting. That's why I'm like, I don't know how else they would be anywhere under $600 for this thing.
Master race, man.
Yeah. Until an Xbox comes in and shows you up.
It's funny you mentioned like the family of devices, and that's going to be interesting because they're all on this cross-generational push of like Xbox One X games will run on Xbox Series X, and Halo and Hellblade are both coming to the Xbox One. It'll be interesting how long it takes Microsoft to be like, hey, we're finally going to put an X in the Xbox One, and when that, like, I guess Xbox Series X S Slim or whatever it's going to be, whatever that comes out, it's going to be fascinating, because how do you resonate that to the audiences, and how do you make sure that doesn't get mistranslated?
And also with all the streaming stuff, how do you? The window in my mind to creating a slim system is like narrowing, because then you have stuff like Stadia, you have xCloud, all that kind of stuff. When does it just stop with a box? There's so much R&D that goes into this stuff versus just using their Azure technology.
Oh, for sure.
Right? Or you find a way down the road where you don't actually come out with, another Xbox in 6 or 7 years. Just your Xbox can then access the Azure, unit, and half of your Xbox is in a database somewhere running certain things, and then the actual hardcore system itself is also doing the other work as well. It's fascinating to see them turn it into a service. It's also crazy that it's hardware accelerated ray tracing. So a lot of people thought it was going to be software based.
It's all hardware side,
and it's the hardware side, which it would have lacked. It would have been great to see the software stuff still, but it was kind of surprising to me when I saw it. I was like, that's pretty nuts that they're actually going to do that. So good on them. Let's see what Sony brings up. The thing I think is that the Sony side's going to be the exact same. I doubt there's going to be this big difference?
I don't
come down to games again.
That's really hard to tell. I mean, if they're saying roughly it costs, $470 to produce or whatever, I don't think it's this. Like, I don't think it has this computing power. And I know before we started, you were saying you're a PlayStation guy, and we both play on Xbox predominantly. I also have a PlayStation as well, and I love my PlayStation 4 Pro. But I mean, the Xbox One X is significantly more powerful, and I mean, you can't argue that. Like, it is, but and then to see this where it's doubling that, I don't know if PlayStation's going to be able to make that jump quite. I mean, that's a significant jump.
Yeah, the things I've been hearing, and I agree with you 100%. I do not think that Sony is going to beat them on teraflops and specs and stuff like that, because I think the early stuff that's been coming out, that they've got some pretty high teraflops, but what they're saying is that their software, or that the hardware inside of it, is going to be able to do more with less. And even with less the current X, like even with the current X, you have what, 8 teraflops in it or something like that?
I think it's 6
teraflops. And with most games that are out today, it's not even using full. So it's like for Sony to be like, oh, we're going to come out with 16 and jack the price up to, $100 or $200 more. I think Sony is going to go the safe route, where they're just going to say, we're going to come out with the console. It's going to be significantly better than the Pro and the original PlayStation 4. And we're just going to keep producing content. I think that Sony's message is going to be content with like Horizon 2 and Spider-Man 2 and God of War 2, and also new titles. But it's also like, that's what Sony's been doing for the last, there's nothing special about a PlayStation 4. It's what's on it.
Yeah. No, I take back my answer. I think that they're going to do a lesser PlayStation 4, and then I think that they'll do PS5, and I think they'll do a PS5 Pro to match the Series X.
That would be the smart way to do it, because at the end of the day, like, I don't have a Pro. I'm still going off the original day one PlayStation 4. So for me going to the PS5, it's going to be a massive jump in technology. So it's like, if they were to do a PS5 Pro, my wife would never approve me to buy that, but it's one of those things that it's like, it's definitely worth it. It would be 100% worth it.
Yeah, and the software side is brilliant. Oh, sorry, bro. Go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good.
Oh, the software side. Oh. Okay.
We did it again.
You want to go now?
No, you go.
Okay. The software side is brilliant. I mean, if you look at like smartphones, so look at like Google's line of like Pixel phones. Instead of it, I mean, the processor that they use and their chipset inside of it. I mean, do you guys remember when I said I used Comcast?
I completely took a dump at the same time. Don't worry.
Yeah, mine did too. I was just like,
I don't know what went down.
Thanks,
Hangout. Is you were starting to talk about the pixels, and Google was like, got the kill switch, and they're like,
no. Shut up! Don't let this man talk about our phone that no one buys anymore. For like Google Pixel, right? Like the software side speaks to a lot of people. Be like, oh, that's kind of a cop out, but the Pixel processing power inside of it, cool, great. The camera, most of the camera upgrades are actually attributed to software in most of these new versions and their abilities in it. And it makes a massive, massive difference. And honestly, from an Xbox perspective, Xbox isn't the greatest at making UI and an internal sound system that runs smooth.
Have you been reading my group chats? You've been hacking into my. I just got my buddy just gave me an Xbox One to use for demos, and I've been having to get used to the UI again. And I've just been texting him. I'm like, what do I do? How do I do this? Well,
it's
don't
so
know.
confusing for no reason. I mean, the PS4, UI is a little bland, but it works. It's simple. It's simplistic, right? Left, right, and up and down. That's it. And the Xbox One is just like, let's just make as many little windows as we possibly can, and then confuse people with pins and shortcuts, and then this shortcut does this, but this pin doesn't do this, and you mean let's make the biggest square the game that you just played, but it might not be the one that is currently in your Xbox? Okay, let's do that also.
It seems so odd for Microsoft to come out the gate and really just put it out on the table with this. I mean, this giant crazy console, when we know that streaming is pretty much around the corner. It's like 3 years away. So you're going to be selling this console that's just insane, and then in 3-4 years or whatever, people are going to be playing off of a stick that's plugged into the back of their TV, right? And so it does seem slightly counterintuitive, but I'm so interested to see what they do with this, because I have a hard time believing that this is the only console that's going to launch at the same time. I genuinely believe they will have 2 SKUs of this at launch.
Well, so you got a couple things going on with the streaming side, and I've been doing a lot of research on this for the past couple of days. Number one, you got Amazon, who's jumping into streaming.
Yep.
They're about to announce their stuff this year. But number two, what interests me about the xCloud the most is that you can actually use your Xbox as the Stadia server.
That's true. I forgot about that.
You have this powerful Xbox Series X server essentially in your house. I have to imagine that's going to be the best way to play.
I'm sure.
Streaming from like a Microsoft server through the web, kind of like how Stadia works, that's going to be significantly downgraded compared to streaming to your Xbox Series X. So there's definitely benefits to it. But to your point, once streaming technology gets there, and with Stadia at my house, it's already at the point where it's at the same quality as my original PlayStation 4. It's going to get scary. It's going to be very scary about, you're going to go into GameStop or Goodwill and you're just going to see stacks of PlayStation 4s or PlayStation 5s or Xbox Series X.
It's going to be bizarre. It really is exciting though. Like this last generation, like I was excited, just for a better console, but this one, this generation for me is so much more exciting. Like I think there's so much more possibilities and so many doors that have opened since the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 originally launched. And it's just really, it genuinely is pretty cool. And I still have a day one Xbox One. And I did end up getting the Pro because I bought the PlayStation later on just to play some exclusives type of thing. But I am truly excited about this.
That thing's chugging though, dude.
Oh, it's hurting. There's some games I absolutely cannot play on my day one Xbox. Like it just won't do it. Like they put out what was that, Black Desert? I can't play it. It's so incredibly choppy, and it just doesn't do it. But I didn't want to make that upgrade, and
that's the thing that made me sell my Xbox originally, because I had the day one, and then all my friends got the X, and we'd play games like PUBG or Ark, and I would be frozen. Yeah. And they'd be like running around looting, or they'd have no issues whatsoever. And I was just like, what is this? I was like, how are you going to do me like this, Phil Spencer?
Those are like two of the most demanding games that have not been condensed down in any way, shape, or form.
They've probably just been expanded, if anything, more and more. Rough. Oh, God. I think they announced this stuff because I don't think it's going to be able to launch in the holiday season.
That's very possible as well with the coronavirus
coming out this year.
Ooh. No, I do not.
That's a hot take.
Well, we already know
the manufacturing.
Nintendo
right
is having issues with manufacturing as is, so it would make sense they're having issues on PlayStation and Xbox's side as well.
I mean, perhaps I'm wrong, and maybe they could put it into an American, manufacturing facility. Doubtful.
That might not even be safe for too much longer.
So here's the question. Do you delay, or do you put yourself in a Nintendo Wii situation where you only release a certain amount, but the
God.
demand is so crazy that everyone's like, what is this console? I have to get my hands on.
Where moms kill each other, essentially.
Good God.
On Black Friday, is that what you're getting at? People go and kill each other during
Bryant wants to see
Thanksgiving.
fist fights.
I want to see blood. Call Dana White. Let's book a
You
fight.
have to
Let's get
earn
going.
this Xbox.
I think they just announced an awkward date.
Mm.
I mean, I don't think it's going to be a normal date. I mean, maybe it comes out this year, but it comes out at a weird time. Unlike
Black
past
Friday
years.
release.
Oh God, that'd be awful. I just don't see it from a manufacturing perspective. And if you move it over to another country to manufacture it, not in China, the costs you would have would be insane.
Oh yeah.
To make that. I mean, that would make your loss of your product that much more. I mean, maybe you take the hit and you just play the long game with it. You're Microsoft, right? So you've just got gobs and gobs of cash. But the way that company also works is each division is really almost ran independently as a separate company.
I mean, you have to assume that they've been building them, right?
Dude, I don't know. I don't know.
I would think that they probably at least started at the beginning of this year, maybe, or maybe they don't start until the end of this fiscal year.
Or
that way they don't have
base.
it on hand, and they don't have taxes on it or something. Because I'm sure they can whip these out pretty quick. I would think. I guess I don't know what the lead time on producing an actual console is in the manufacturing side of it, but I wouldn't think it's that insane. I don't know. Maybe not.
I
I mean, it's a lot of material.
My company,
is.
we work with China on, we don't do electronics, but we work with China all the time for manufacturing.
Yeah.
And it's about a 90-day turnaround to start getting containers.
Is it?
But electronics is like that
Yeah.
China
Yep.
machines and plants. And,
Not only that, this isn't like the iPhone, right? Where
yeah.
So first of all, iPhone, much smaller device. And the majority of the inside of the device is actually made by Apple. The screen's made by Samsung. This is like an AMD chip in it, right? This has a ton
All
of different
over the place.
companies
Yeah.
inside of this, all inside of it. I mean,
That's
there's
true.
just so many variables where if it gets nicked somewhere, I mean, it's just, we can build 80% of this Xbox One X, but we can't finish it off. Well, in manufacturing, I mean, you just want to do it seamless through the whole process. You don't want to have skids and skids of,
3/4
Xbox
built
One X's,
Xbox One X's.
No, you're right. Yeah.
yeah, Series X's that don't have a lid on the top of them.
Or you have quality issues like how the Switch was bending when it
Yeah.
first was coming out and stuff.
Or quality issues with the Xbox One.
Yeah.
Right when that launched.
I sent 2 of them back. Disk issues.
Wow.
The disk tray. Yeah. Or not disk tray, but the optical drive. Both times you'd put a disc in it and it'd start screaming at you. Like, yep, well, this is going to have to go back. And that's when I swore I would never buy another console on release day. But then I started a podcast and now I feel obligated.
Oh, God.
Here we are.
I think in a month, in 2 months, if the coronavirus is still around or it's gotten worse than what it is right now, there's no way they're launching this in holiday season.
I think that's a safe bet. I mean, because the Chinese just got off Chinese New Year, so we're just now starting to see people come back to the plants for after a month of being off for a month. So this is really the first month that we're getting to see what production is going to look like with the coronavirus. So next 30 to 45 days is really going to be that telltale sign.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It'll be super interesting. PlayStation's made in China as well, right?
I assume everything is made in China these days. I'm just like, I believe so. Now you got me concerned.
I mean,
I would think so as well, but I don't.
Well, you never know. It could be like one of those things where they make it like South Korea,
Taiwan.
or something like that. Nah,
Does
Taiwan still produce a lot of things? I don't ever see like made in Taiwan very often.
Old Navy
anymore.
shirts.
Yeah, so Sony is primarily China. Yeah.
Okay.
Even though they're based out of Japan, they're still primarily China.
Which is a weird relationship because they don't get along at all. So I'm surprised that works out. But
they get along if you have money for them to build something.
Fair
They do
enough.
not care.
So the moral of the story is start writing Santa now.
yes,
Yes.
Get your letters in early, and hopefully that'll
and
get
maybe
you
take some boxing classes,
Yeah.
MMA,
Man, there's no,
jiu-jitsu, something.
There's no way that they would do that again, like that happened with the Wii, right? But also at the same time, maybe that helped
the Wii also sold like crazy.
Yeah, that maybe.
We're also talking about the theory you guys had about the Sonic movie. You know, bad press is good press. So I mean, Xbox could just be like,
my
hey,
God, Microsoft made the coronavirus.
Somebody tweet Phil Spencer right now. Demand answers.
Oh my God,
what a leap that was!
Genius. It'd be interesting too, because I bet you the media, like if it's still around, the coronavirus, and people are going to buy all these, I bet you the media will be like, careful when you're opening your Xbox. This year's Christmas present could also be a death wish.
Yeah.
Like it's in the plastic.
Pair your PlayStation 5 with a hazmat suit. It goes perfectly together.
It's just
worth it.
I feel like that's gonna be legit. Like if this makes it, because they're saying what this thing dies if it gets too hot, possibly. They don't even know. Which I rebuke that, because I would say it's in Australia already. It's super hot there. Mm-hmm. People are getting it. You know, it's not dying off. I mean, I would see like Christmas time, people are like wondering about what's under the tree this Christmas. Like maybe we're gonna go back to like the old school days of like ball in a cup for Christmas, or like a wooden horse.
You legit won't know what's under the tree for Christmas this year, because nobody knows if it's gonna be here or not.
That's right.
It's going to be like The Division. It's just the entire city is going to be, snowing, and everybody's going to be evacuated. And
we actually made that comparison the other day. We're like, this is literally the setup of The Division. Like, it's passed through the money and all sorts of shit. Like, I've seen this before.
I've played this and I've been disappointed.
I'm waiting to be activated as an agent.
I've lived this, I've played this, and yet I'm still disappointed. Someone's gonna make a game too, totally called like COVID-19.
So here's my thought: is like I was tempted to post a tweet, because we were going to be going to PAX East when we first were debating it, and now everybody's backing out of it, and I'm like, there's gonna be somebody showing up in poor taste with like cosplay.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I'm like, that's gonna just be or just saying like infected with corona, and I'm like, that's not a joke to play around with now. But it's gonna happen. Someone's gonna do it at PAX.
I'm surprised. See, if it was, I wouldn't do it. But if it was to do it, you guys see Monsters Inc?
Yeah.
2319.
I knew exactly where you were going.
2319.
Just randomly start Lysoling.
You'd be like those yellow bodysuit guys that are all like weird shaped and have like the different like portholes and stuff on them.
Sock around.
2319.
Oh no.
Oh God. Yeah, don't do that. Nobody do that, but you're absolutely right. Someone's absolutely going to be like the coronavirus for cosplay or something like that.
We'll see a Kotaku article on Monday about it.
Oh, I'm sure Jason Schreier will cover that.
Some shade.
My Twitter is just Kotaku shade 100%. It's just
dude, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you.
My wife the past weekend, like there'll be things I show her, and like she's my gauge on like whether it's stupid or whether it's like, oh, just let it go. And if I show her something and she goes, it's stupid, I'm like, oh, it's fair game. I can go after them.
Yeah, I shared like a clickbaity title or whatever, Janelle, about like something with the games and politics. I'm like, it's like, does this make sense? She's like, that's really dumb. Who wrote that? I'm like, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, but I'm gonna shit all over them.
Oh yeah, it'll probably be some crazy clickbait article.
That being said, Kotaku, if you're hiring, no, I'm just kidding.
It'll be some crazy article where it's like, people were racist because of the coronavirus and blocking PAX East. And
gamer gets arrested for spreading fake coronavirus.
Yeah. Guy from
probably going to take us down with him too.
Yeah.
Some idiot podcast from Indiana was like, yeah, no, go ahead and do this. And
Canadian immigrant, mildly popular podcast host gets arrested for dressing as Monsters Inc. character and screwing 2319. At Death Stranding booth.
Boston mayor issue statement.
Yeah. Oh my God. Video from event, 2 seconds. 420p.
And it's not filmed.
If
in
you look
portrait mode.
closely, you can clearly see Jeff in this really blurred outline.
If you hear him scream 2319, you know it's him.
Yeah. Going full circle, guys. I think you have a great idea for your first TikTok video. Let's get you out to PAX.
Yeah, 2319. I don't think that's the way I want to blow up.
Nope.
I don't think it would work out. I mean, I think for some it would, but I don't think many would stick around. All right, guys, we're going to close the show out. If you want to join us on Patreon, become a patron over there. Go to patreon.com/Diggity Podcast. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram @Diggity Podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can find me on Xbox One. My gamer tag is Maple Jeff.
You can also find me on Xbox One at Luscious Brody and on PlayStation, Wolverine's cousin.
Brian, do you want to give out your PSN? You
Yeah,
if you don't want to. There's
no,
creepy
it's fine.
people out there.
My PSN is Bob Iger quit. No, I'm just kidding. No, my PSN is Bryant Chappelle 1, and then my Google Stadia, of course, is Bryant Chappelle 1.
Cool, guys. Leave us a review, whether it's a comment on one of our YouTube videos or a review on our iTunes page. We appreciate it. It helps us spread the word of Diggity across all different platforms. And thank you to those who have done already. And until next time, guys, we'll see you for the Friday show. Thanks, Brian, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.